What's going on, guys, and welcome back to the channel. Take two. I just did this entire video and realized that my mic wasn't even working, so I went to edit it and I couldn't hear anything. That's, sucks for someone who just missed a week of recording because of having throat and voice issues. But anyway, we're going to talk again. So here we go. Link down below for the spreadsheet. I got it updated for this format. For those unaware, I track all the tops, keep percentages, all kinds of good stuff like that, and we'll kind of go through and show the rest in this video. So we can see we have like Bucky discard, Sisu on ice, Ruby Amethyst control, which is the topic of today's video. Oop, don't want to do that. How viable is Ruby Amethyst control? I picked it to be my fourth best deck of the format. I put it at just below tier 1. It's proving me wrong this far. It's hit 14% overall of tops, and it does have a couple wins, so it's definitely in that tier 1 category. And I think there's a lot of things to be hopeful for. I think there's a lot of reasons to think that this deck can even start to creep up a little bit better. What counts as a top for this? Inkdex.com is a great resource for tops, and they have all kinds of totaled up information. Unfortunately, whether it's a 8-person tournament or an 80-person tournament, they have top 8s, and it doesn't really show you anything when you look at the total chart and representation of it. So what we count for tops is right here on the screen. You guys can see what we count for tops. I will have all of our Patreon giveaways. I'll update this every month, such as this month being Enchanted Rare Tinkerbell. Our social link, inkdex.com, where you can just go right to it from the spreadsheet. Some editor's notes that ever matter, and also a tier list over here on the side based on the percentages. This is not based on opinions or anything whatsoever. It is 100% based off of the representation over here. Whether you're on mobile or on your computer, there's tabs either on top or bottom. The major event tops is 100-person plus tournaments, where we get their names, give them shout outs, their decks played, placing, where they played, and then also individual links for each of their decks. Like I said, we got quite a few so far. We got 32 from Chicago, 32 from the Pack on Pixelborn. Belgium and France also each had events. And then also in the tabs, we have decks. Today, we're going to go ahead and talk about Ruby Amethyst control. And you can see here, we have the cost curves kind of broken up by color to help make it a little easier. How often played at 1, 2, 3, 4, total percent played, and most common ratio. Total percent played. I do want to put this huge disclaimer out here. This is not every one of them. Like we see over here, there was 27 tops. I don't have the time to go ahead and do hundreds of these every single week. So we're just going to grab a few each week, like 3 to 5, and update this so it will get more and more precise, more and more optimized, but it's essentially a good starting point for you to go ahead and build your deck. And today, we're going to build a deck based on this information and go from there. If we're lucky, it'll come out to a clean 60, which it rarely does. I think once last format only. And you'll have to kind of make adjustments based on your uninkable count, based on just overall what the deck is going to do for you. Also, I have a little category here, cards that appeared in 100% of the lists, just in case you're curious. So we're going to go ahead into our 1 drops first. It calls me Magic Broom, Illuminary Keeper, Pascal, Rapunzel's Companion, Chernobog's Followers, Rafiki, Mystical Fighter, and then the Minnie Mouse Olaf, the 1/3 1 drops that pair up with Teeth and Ambition very nicely, despite we see there is no Teeth and Ambition here. If I'm playing Minnie and Olaf, I'm playing Teeth, but that's just me personally. I think the card is really good right now, and that would be the best reason to play these cards. Rafiki comes in as a +3 challenger, which is very strong for taking out very strong cards such as Ursula, such as Ariel the Singer, and other cards that have those 3 willpower. Chernobog's Followers is a draw card, so naturally it's going to be good. This deck really likes to draw early and get to that high-end Ruby game and just win out in the controlling aspect of it. Pascal Rapunzel's companion can gain evasive, which helps you deal with, well, Bucky discard, those Diablos, and things like that, especially when you boost it with a Merlin Crab. Magic Broom, kind of like Chernobog's Followers, is a draw card. It Calls Me, like the other two, is a 1-cost draw 1 card. However, being a song means you can sing it later, you can play it later, it just trades itself out, but it never gives you that body on board like the Broom and like Chernobog's do. Only 2 of these cards were played at least 50% of lists, so we're going to get 4 Brooms and 4 Chernobog's Followers to start out this video, and that's where we're going to go. So we got 8 1-drops, and again, so we got our Chernobog Followers. Whenever a character quests, you may banish this card, draw a card. Then the Broom is when you play another character, you may banish this character to draw a card. So essentially turn 2 Broom, you quest with it, you play a turn 2 card, and then you banish it to draw a card. They both accomplish the same exact goal. Difference being later in the game you can say play your Broom, play a character, banish your Broom, draw a card if you wish to do it all in one turn. That's going to be it for our 1-drops, so let's go ahead and move into our 2s. We hit our first 100% played card in the Madam Mim Snake. It's almost an even split between 3 and 4 on what you should do, and this makes a lot of sense because when Broom and Followers are your main 1-drops that you're playing, bouncing those cards is kind of counterintuitive to what they're kind of meant there to do. They're meant to disappear and draw you a card and replace themselves that way. Yen Sid is a card that you can play it after your Broom, and if you have your Broom, you get to draw a card for the Yen, and then you can even banish your Broom to draw a second card. Cusco Wanted Llama, in my opinion, is just the safer and more consistent draw card as opposed to that Yen Sid, and naturally we do see it is played more. Here it is a 3-4 or a perfect split between 3 and 4. Pinocchio Talkative Puppet, a card where you can choose your opponent's card and exert it so that way you can challenge it and take it out before they want you to be able to. And lastly, Flynn Rider Frenemy. Well, this card lets you take advantage of the high strength of the Ruby engine and gain 3 lore if your character has the strongest strength on the board. And when you're playing things like Mim Fox, Maui, there's a pretty good chance that's going to be you. So we have 3 cards to add here. We got 4 snakes because it did edge it out here. We're just going to go with the most unless it's a split like this. And then I'll go ahead and pick one. We're going to go with 3 Cusco and 4 Flynns. Again, if we get to a perfect 60, great. If not, we will look at the list and we will figure out where we want to make some cuts and talk about it a little bit at that time. So 3 Cusco, 4 snakes, and then we're going to go ahead and get 4 Flynn Riders. That card is $5. Well, I guess it's super rare. That's not terrible. Moving into our 3 costs, this is where the deck really starts to take off. It's the biggest category. We can see the 4, 5, 6, 7s also very small, especially once you get the 5, 6, 7 category. So we're into our 3s now. We have a handful of cards that hit that 50% mark. Sisu Emboldened Warrior. This card, I guess we can go ahead and show here, up here, right? So we got what? Sisu, and Brawl for our red, or purple's first. Purple is first. So Friends, Crab, Peter Pan, Fox, Sorceress. Them are the cards we're going to go ahead and show off here. Peter Pan Shadowfinder. It's a 2/3, uninkable, but it's rush and evasive. And again, 2/3. So that means he can come down and take out that Diablo as soon as, they exert him. Your turn, you draw. They're going to get 1 extra draw off of it. You ink a card, you play your pan, you take it out. He survives because of 3 willpower, and then you can potentially take out another Diablo at a later time. So he's really good for that. Played at less than 50%, so he's not going to make his way onto our optimized list just yet. But if we're under 60, maybe this is a card we decide to pick to fill that gap. Moving down a little bit more, we have a few others. We got our Merlin Crabs, again boosting the cards. He was played, and Madam Mim Fox. Funny how Merlin and Madam Mim work so well together because, well, if you're privy to the show, they don't like each other or get along at all. At least Merlin doesn't. She might have a thing for him. Kind of feels like it. But anyway, so like I said, we have the 4 foxes from right here. And we have our 2 crabs from right there at the 56%. Maleficent Sorceress is just another on-play draw card type card, but from where we're playing, we're not going to put her in for this video. 4 friends on the other side because drawing 2 is just very, very strong. Sisu Daring Visitor. When she comes down, especially in Sapphire, this card thrives a lot more because when you exert your ice block and make like their Diablo go to 1 attack instead of 2, then you can play this card to come down and get rid of that Diablo that way. However, the Embodied Warrior, or Emboldened Warrior, we are going to play. It's a 1/4 3 cost, but it quests for 2, and it gains a strength for every card in your opponent's hand. Sometimes I've seen this card with 5 strength, and it can just put in so much work, and it quests for 2 again, so not only can she be aggressive, she can also go ahead and take out your opponent's boards. Brawl is such a good card right now, hitting things like Ursula, Ariel, and Diablo, which are 3 of the best cards in the game currently, and it's nice when you can have an answer to them before they actually get to abuse them. That kind of gets through our 3 drops. Again, we hit our Sisu, over 50, Friends, 2 Merlin Crabs, 4 Brawls, and then 4 Foxes. On to our 4s. Dolores Madrigal. This is one of those cards where, again, it's an on-play draw effect. Remember how we said that this deck really likes to draw cards early and get into that 5+ top end of the Ruby cards? This is what we mean. Dolores Madrigal does quest for 2, so she can help you close out games that way, but if an opponent has an exerted character in play, you may draw a card when you play her. So like I said, it's kind of like Maleficent, but it's if they have an exerted character, usually they will. She costs 1 more, quests for 1 more, has 1 more will, has 1 more strength. I do like Dolores over Maleficent if you're debating on playing one of those 2 cards. The 4s, however, that we do play, well, it's the rest of them. Merlin Goat, Merlin Rabbit, Bee King, and Queen's Castle all come in at 100% played. Bee King does come in as a 2 of as opposed to a 4. Queen's Castle is just so strong. A lot of decks, especially like right now, your blue red decks, they don't put out a lot of characters early, so if you can get this down and stick it with some cards to keep their presence from challenging you, you're going to be in a good spot. And versus Bucky Discard, a lot of their cards don't have that much strength, so again, it's going to be a very, very strong card. They could say tech in Rise of the Titans, or even better, Avalanche, or they can obviously play things like Cricky to boost attack. However, the way their builds are right now, Queen's Castle is very, very strong, but I do expect them to start to play something to answer that. And again, I think Avalanche might be the go-to because it also helps out in the mirror. On play draw cards, on play lore, on leave draw cards, on leave lore. Who would have thought Goat and Rabbit would be so strong? Everybody thought it. So we're going to get them guys in there right away. Bee King Undisputed, again, it's 2 of. Essentially, each opponent chooses and banishes one of their characters. It is Lady Tremaine for 2 less cost and singable, but it doesn't give you the body on board. We're at a total of 51. Can we make it to 60? I don't think we can. It looks like we got 4 more cards to add based on the percentages. So then we will go ahead and see what happens. We'll see where we need to make cuts. Isabella is an evasive card. She's evasive and she quests for 4. I shouldn't say she quests for 4. She's a 3/4 who can quest for 4. If none of your other characters quested this turn, she quests for 4, and then none of your other characters can quest. So essentially you have to make that call. Is 4 more than all your characters questing? Or are you better off challenging with all your other characters and questing for 4 with your Isabella? We also then, again, are going to go to good old faithful, since first chapter, Maui, a 6/5 inkable rush character. Yeah. Whoever thought that was a good idea? I don't know. There's a reason we haven't gotten any more 6/5 rush characters that are inkable. We did get the Hercules, who's what, a 7/3, but he's uninkable? Something like that. Let's go ahead back to our spreadsheet and see where we're at for 6s. So Yzma used to be a card that was in here as well, but we see she is not in here as of right now. It's between Lady Tremaine, who's an even split between 1 or 3 of, and then Madame Medusa, who's a 2, but most likely a 3 of. Neither card ever played at 4 currently. I get it, makes sense. Medusa, I could see the argument for it. For this, 50 and 100%, so we'll go 3 Medusa. And for the sake of cutting less cards, because Tremaine would end up being a card we cut, let's go ahead and put 1 Lady Tremaine in there. And when I say that, I just mean that we're already going to come out at 62. If we played 3 of her, we'd be at 64. And if we're looking at cards to cut, I'm just saying, if I'm at 3 Tremaine and I need to cut 4 cards, I'm cutting at least 2 Tremaines. I do want to try to be between like 11 to 14, 15 uninkable cards in this deck. Some people might be more bold and willing to play upwards of 18. I'm just personally not one of them. Apologies for that. We're almost done. So we get into our top end then. Scar Vicious Cheater. He's a 6/5 rush character. He quests for 2 if you need to just close out games that way. Otherwise, essentially, he comes down as a 7-drop uninkable card who you play him, and his 6/5 stat line goes through usually 3 or 4 of your opponent's characters. We are going to play the 3B prepareds, just like the list says. So if we go over here, we can go to our info. I know my pitcher's blocking it. We're at 13 uninkable cards, so we're good there. We're also, I like my divvy up on our other statistics. We look at the cost curve, 8 1s, 11 2s, 18 3s, so maybe that's where we cut back, 14 4s. Then we got the Mauis, the Lady and Medusas, and the B prepared. So we're not going to cut out the top end. The deck currently $187, but we're going to see because we got to cut 2 more cards. Again, followers, brooms. We're not going to cut our 1s. Cusco is a 3 of. I don't want to go lower there. I don't necessarily want to go lower on my 2s at all. Cusco and Frenemy are the 2 you're going for. And we don't really want to bounce followers or broom anyway. So maybe we cut a snake. Let's go ahead and put snake to 3. See where we're at. Then we got what? Fox. I don't want to cut Fox at all. Merlin Crab, 2 of I really like. Sisu I do really, really like. But maybe Sisu gets cut to 3 and that'll get us to 60. Goat, Rabbit, they're both staying at 4. Maui. Some played at 3. I don't know. The inkable 6 strength rush character is just so good. Do we cut Lady Tremaine altogether? She was barely over 50%. Madame Medusa's at 3. We could go Brawl down 1. I like the songs, and Castle I do want to keep, but maybe Castle to 3. Personally, Brawl stays. I think it comes down to Lady Tremaine and Sisu. Lady Tremaine, I think, is contributing more towards the goal we're trying to do, that getting to that high-end top game. Sisu can combo off with Frenemy really well, especially if your opponent has cards in their hand. Also, being able to quest for 2 with 4 willpower, it is really good, but I don't think we necessarily need her at 4 either. So we're going to go to 3 Sisus, and that gets us to 60. I do want to say with cutting the snake, obviously you don't have to bounce these. It doesn't have to be a turn 1 play. You can bounce your crab, your goat, your fox, or not your fox, your rabbit. I mean, you can bounce your fox, but you don't really gain a ton of value unless, say, it has 2, like, if you say, what would it be? If you have 8 ink, you could play fox, bounce something, crash into something, take 2 damage, play snake, bounce fox, play fox, bounce snake, and then again swing with your fox another time. So I guess there is some utility there, but like goat, bounce goat, play goat feels so good, and usually that snake is how you do it, or likewise with rabbit. So we do still want to keep some snakes in there, but I think we can get away with playing just the 3. The deck comes in at just under $184, which for a tier 1 deck, that's actually really not that bad. Thank you guys for watching. List is up on the screen. Should we go through it actually quick, and then we will be done with it. So we got 4 followers, 4 brooms. Again, we want to draw early. 3 Cuscos, drawing early. Your 3 snakes. If you need the board presence, you put this card down. Otherwise, you hold it until you get to those more effective bounces to be able to deal with it. For Frenemy, also, again, taking advantage of your high strength characters. You really don't want to necessarily bounce him neither. So it's not always the ideal play line, but a lot of the time he's there and is your go-to. I mean, you can come back with one of your 1-drops or go with your Cusco, but I do like Frenemy there at 4. We got our Fox and our Crabs. I like them ratios really good. Like I said, 3 Sisu, that's fine by me. Your Merlins, 4 ofs. Maui, 4 of. Our 4 ladies, being Medusa and the Tremaines. Then Brawl, drawing 2 again, that's a standard 4 of. 2 B Kings, 3 Prepareds, and 4 Castles. I think this list is really, really solid. This isn't actually a singular list that any one player played. However, it's taking into consideration 7 of the top deck lists and then kind of morphing what they play into a singular list with the goal of optimizing it as time goes on. So, again, thank you guys for watching. Do you like this style video? Let me know down below. And until next time, take care.